I understand we're excited about the Dangote Refinery. So let's go there.
All right. We'll hopefully come back to this story later on. Well, here in Nigeria, the $19 billion Dangote Refinery in Lekki, Lagos, is set to begin production following the arrival of its first crude oil shipment, marking a significant milestone for Nigeria's petroleum industry. Arise News energy correspondent Georgina Ndukwe Ezeayinka has details.
On the 22nd of May 2023, former President Muhammadu Buhari commissioned the 650,000 barrels per day Dangote Refinery located at the Lekki Free Zone in Lagos State, Nigeria. Described as one of the largest in the world, the Dangote Refinery has the capacity of producing 3 billion standard cubic feet of gas per day. Since then, the privately owned refinery is yet to be operational. One of the reasons adduced is the lack of domestic crude feedstock. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited owns 20% stake in the refinery. Company sources had said NNPC Limited had recently agreed to supply 6 million barrels of crude oil as feedstock to the Dangote Refinery this December. According to reports by tanker tracking data S&P Global, the Otis tanker carrying 1 million barrel cargo of Nigeria's Agbami crude from Chevron's terminal set sail on December 6th and is confirmed to have docked at Dangote Offshore Crude Receiving Terminal. With the arrival and expected commencement of operations at the Dangote Refinery, industry experts say there is hope that Nigeria can now attain her target of reducing petroleum import and bridging the inadequacy of existing state-owned refineries, as well as transforming Nigeria's oil and gas sector. Georgina Ndukwe Ezeayinka, Arise News.
We now join Arise business correspondent Rotus Oddiri, who is on ground at the Dangote Refinery in Lekki. Good morning, Rotus. Good to see you.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Doctor. I don't know if you guys can tell the goosebumps on my...
Yes, we
can tell the goosebumps.
I understand that you took a whole helicopter to go and report from Dangote Refinery. But tell us about the significance of this historic moment.
Dr. Abati, I mean, yet another Arise exclusive. You can see this massive 30 million liter gasoline storage plant behind me. Part of what I heard Georgina Ndukwe's reports, there's a lot of them. Massive, massive, massive refinery. This is my first time here. And gosh, you got to take it all in. The significance of this is the importance of revenues to Nigeria's economy, right? Because this is the first, we can confirm the first crude shipment that, of course, has come in to the Dangote refinery. Dangote has done his part as a private sector player in building the infrastructure. Now it's time for the government to play their part, and they are doing that with the NNPC, getting that shipment coming in from the MT Otis, which kind of sounds like Rotus, but without the R. This is a vessel that was built way back, in 2010. Arise, of course, with our numbers that we can confirm, a capacity of about 999,748 barrels. That's with the capacity of this particular tanker. We flew, yes, Doctor, it was a lovely flight. We flew around, and we'll send that footage to you all to check it out. We flew over the vessel. We saw it because there's this thing called the SPM or SBM, Standard Point Mooring or Standard Buoy Mooring, which is anchored down to allow the vessel to transfer the crude to, of course, the refinery. So we got all that huge vessel, and it's significant because the Dangote refinery, as we reported, we've been tracking things from day one when operations were set to begin, has been waiting for this important crude stock so he can begin what he intended to do: refine petroleum, save our foreign exchange, export. Of course, the Lekki Free Trade Zone, we were here when it was commissioned. Arise has been covering all this. So it's a massive, this is literally one of the milestone moments when you look back on 2023 because of the implications, the economic implications for today. And the thing is, we need more. More shipments have to come in because of the capacity that Georgina Ndukwe mentioned in her report there on this refinery. So we got to get more. We got to get more feedstock. So this is hopefully the first of many.
Definitely see and almost feel your excitement, Rotus. Can you tell us about the source of the crude from Agbami?
Yes, Agbami is one of Nigeria's renowned deep water fields. It, of course, is run by Chevron, capacity of about 100,000 barrels per day. And that is where it's been coming from. And we understand that, again, exclusively that Arise News can understand that NNPC, this is one of the fields that NNPCL, which of course, by the way, has been giving regular updates of the Petrochemicals refinery. They've been sending information there on that, on the updates there. But they are chartering more and more of these of deep water fields in order to bring more shipments to the Dangote Refinery. And it's renowned, of course, for its light sweet crude as far as its grade is concerned, premium stuff.
I mean, like people make a joke about Agbami field. Agbami, because it indeed has a lot of oil. You know, at its peak, it does over 250,000 barrels per day in crude. I mean, that's how big the Agbami is. I'm so excited.
100,000.
Yeah.
It's 100,000.
Okay, now, at its peak then, it was doing 250,000 barrels per day. At its peak then, all right, when Agbami was Agbami then. Rotus, so this was my tweet this morning. I said, Dangote gets feedstock. Let's do it. What's the significance of today? Let's do it. When are we going to mint that first petrol, that first byproduct of crude? When is it going to get into the tankers in the gantry? And they're going to sell at the first filling station. I'm going to say, this is minted from the Dangote Refinery. Yes!
Yes. Rufai, I can hear your excitement from here. So yeah, so it's docked. We flew over. They're getting the crude shipment is coming into the refinery, and then processing is going to begin. So he's going to begin doing what he's meant to do. And as I mentioned, you're seeing the massive storage facilities that are here: gasoline, diesel, kerosene, and so on and so forth. The fertilizers. I mean, you got it. I might stay here. I was supposed to be coming back to the studio, but I don't know. I might do the global business report. Right? I'm kidding. But the thing is, it's a massive facility. The significance is this is the story. Once we get full feedstock coming in, we stop importing. Think about how much we spend on. I mean, we went through the Q3 trade figures. Did we not on the morning show on the business segment? Right? This is the story. When you start getting the full capacity of feedstock coming into the Dangote Refinery, you stop importing. And of course, remember when they said that there were some players offshore, that overseas refineries that weren't happy to hear that because they're not going to be getting Nigeria's foreign exchange anymore. So massive savings in foreign exchange. We know about the stories, of course, of what we've confirmed, the issues with foreign exchange, the backlog that the central bank is trying to clear out. Once you get full feedstock coming in here, you save on foreign exchange, you clear out the backlogs, there's exchange rate implications. I mean, this is linked. It's like when we were talking about the unfortunate Kaduna bombings, which of course you three were debating at the vice president and so on. I heard you before you came to me. We remember we were talking about, we had the chief of defense staff with his exclusive on Newsnight, where he talked about how manufacturing impacts insecurity. We need to manufacture our own weapons so we don't have to spend, vital foreign exchange on weapons. It is the same way the Dangote Refinery is interlinked all through the Nigerian economy, because the ramifications are that once we stop importing fuel from overseas, we refine everything here. They would even be refined. Remember our debates on fuel and fuel subsidies and so on and so forth. You might even see, to a degree, an impact on prices of fuel at home. So there's massive ramifications for this, and it's a huge positive.
Rotus.
And we've been tracking it, and we'll keep tracking this.
Rotus, yes, good. We'll keep tracking, because this has been in the public domain. Dangote Refinery, all of us were talking about it, that if it comes on stream, 650,000 barrels per day capacity would address the problem of supply. We also, generate, knock-on effects within the economy in a positive sense. And that it's a salute to sheer entrepreneurship, one man's vision, to get into that space and to make a difference. And Aliko Dangote, as one of the leading industrialists, entrepreneurs in Nigeria, continues to make a difference. However, the lingering issue had been about the supply of crude. And I was just asking Rotus that, okay, NNPCL, which is also a stakeholder in the Dangote Refinery, I think 20%. The concern was, NNPCL under the its arrangements with other supplier, other interested stakeholders could not get the crude available. The Dangote Refinery promised, Alhaji Aliko Dangote himself promised that by December they will get the crude. But it's important to clarify what is the exact source. Dangote Refinery going on stream, yes, will cause some excitement. 2, is it NNPC also keeping its own part of the bargain? Or is the crude from another source? We're told it's from Agbami crude, Chevron terminal, supplied by Shell Trading, but who actually is responsible for this supply? Because that question will be important for sustainability. Today's excitement may be historic, but it has to be sustainable.
And that's a good point you raised, Dr. Abati, because the question is always sustainability. Prior to this time, historically, we used to have over 400,000 barrels per day that was set aside for energy security in the country. But once those refineries we had back in the days packed up, and that was only used to be the capacity of all the refineries. Once we had refineries packed up, then we started selling them in swaps. So is it that regime we're bringing back? How are we going to sustain it? Because, see, I'm happy about the historic delivery today. But also, there are many other modular refineries in Nigeria that is so problematic for them to get crude. I remember we brought Momo here, one of these days, Momo Yokura, that owns also a modular refinery himself. And the challenge has also been about getting crude. Even when they get the crude, they can't buy it in Naira. They have to look for FX, which is problematic and all of that. So production has been stunted. So if we say a major shipment of over 900,000 barrels, yes, 950,000 barrels, we get other couple of hundreds of thousands of barrels, is that going to be the supply for December? Because this refinery can actually meet 650,000 barrels per day. So this is supposed to be a day-and-a-half shipment. Ideally, if we want to meet at full capacity for this refinery, this is supposed to be a day-and-a-half shipment. So how are we sure that we're going to get at least 700,000 BPD every day for this refinery at a time when Nigeria is doing about 1.3 or 1.4 million barrels per day? Because this is quite a humongous refinery. It's going to go up a lot. And also, where are we going to see stock to be able to give to other, local refining capacity? Because ideally, if we build petrochemical sectors that will have refineries and things like that, nations that produce oil, most of them go to their local production. It's not even enough. They even buy more. But it's because we're not building petrochemical industry all this while. But now that Dangote is coming on stream, let's see how it can go. So, Rotus, I think there was a question, a particular question Dr. Abati raised, and it's a great concern. Sustainability of this 900,000 BPD per day. Because if you are to look at the original meeting capacity of this refinery, this is a day-and-a-half supply of minting because it can do 50,000 BPD per day. What's the sustainability like in a country where we are minting about 1.3 or 1.4 million barrels per day collectively, and Dangote needs 650,000 per day? And I know the Agbami field has a lot of interest and all of that, FAMFA, Chevron, Ronin, and a couple of other people in there. So what's the sustainability threshold?
Rufai, excellent question, and sorry we got a little jammed up with our connection there. So this is the great question. In Nigeria's heyday, what is our capacity? It's 2 million, right? If you look at, and that was that's what we've been able to do. What has brought it down? Several times I've shown charts on the show of how, so this third quarter 2023 in our GDP, when we looked at oil GDP, oil output, it was 1.45, right? And the second quarter of this year was 1.2, right? OPEC just gave us our capacity of 1.5, right? And so and remember on the show we talked about, how the energy minister, Abdulaziz Salman of Saudi Arabia said, look, these things are voluntary. So the point is Nigeria's capacity is 2 million. President Tinubu wants to get it to 4 million by, I think, 2027 or so, and even more. So the capacity is there. What has brought it down? It is aging infrastructure and oil theft, right? We covered exclusively the different security operatives, Chief of Defense Staff and so on and so forth, in the Niger Delta region. So the capacity is there. for Nigeria to produce more. And you have to, I mean, look, why would the NNPC take a 20% stake in this refinery? They realize the implications because of the size and the capacity, and so therefore, that is why it's really important that we get this going. So as we said, they are going to be chartering more, as they've done from Agbami and other deep water fields, chartering, more supply to come through. And of course, the hope is that, not even a hope, it has to happen, that this will continue.
Well, Rotus, I don't know whether you heard the question I asked earlier on. I asked you.
I lost you, Doctor. Go ahead, please repeat
Can
it.
you confirm that this supply is from NNPCL? Can you also confirm that NNPCL still has a 20% stake in Dangote Refinery? And should we expect further crude shipments? Alhaji Dangote had said something about there will be 6 shipments before the end of December. And those 6 shipments, where are they going to come from? Are they going to come from NNPCL or from other sources? These are the details that we need to know.
Indeed. NNPCL, to use a basketball term, this is a full court press. A full court press is basically them using pretty much utilizing as much supply to come to the refinery as possible. So they are chartering these from different deep water fields. Of course, you've got your joint venture agreements with your oil and gas majors like Agbami, which is run by Chevron. So that, of course, is being spread across to where more of these supplies are coming in. So yes, the NNPC is spearheading this movement. It is part of why they took an interest, because they realized the output capacity of the refinery. And it is also why they're, even with the existing refineries, as I said, they've started providing information on the Port Harcourt refinery, the promise of that to come on stream. So it is a full court press from the private sector side with this massive Dangote refinery, and also the existing refineries under the auspices of the government itself, spearheaded by the NNPC to get this going. We're behind. We know we're behind. The fact that crude stock didn't get here earlier means why this refinery hadn't started processing. Dangote has been ready. He's been ready to go. It was just he's fulfilled his own mission as the private sector leg, right? It was up to the government now to get that crude stock. But those challenges that we mentioned earlier are what held it up. So yes, this is a full court press from the NNPC to get this going, and Dangote he's been ready.
Well, I was just wondering that if Dangote Refinery has to buy crude from the IOCs, that could have implications, of course, for cost.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So, Rotus.
Which is,
Yeah, Rotus. So what a number of people will be wondering. Yeah, excellent news. We're excited. The shipment has come in. When are we likely to see output from the refinery? I know it's largely dependent on the 6 shipments coming in this month, but when are we likely to see, and what output? Are we going to get diesel? What product will come out in the first instance?
This is the reason why we are standing in front of one of the massive gasoline storage facilities that's here. If you can see, that's about 30. Each one is about 30 million liters or so. So that's going to be, as far as what they're getting, as far as the diversified items, or rather downstream products that you can get, it's across the board. The refinery is set up for that. So they're looking at diesel, they're looking at gasoline, they're looking at kerosene, they're looking at PMS. So you have to, if you've got 5 fingers, 10 fingers, you're going to utilize all of them. So they're basically going to be taking what they get from this vessel, and production is going to start as soon as, almost immediately. So the issue now is, again, you've got, as Rufai mentioned earlier, you've got a 650,000 barrel capacity refinery. We're getting what, as I mentioned, the vessel that came in, 999. About 999 million barrels is what it can carry. Agbami is doing 100,000 barrels per day. So as it comes in, they start producing. So they are ready to go, and they're going to start immediately. Dangote did have, he's mentioned it to us. He talked, remember when Abi Olawi had her exclusive with her documentary that we aired on the Dangote Refinery, and she sat down with the man himself. He said as soon as these shipments coming, that's when they're going to start producing. So output is going to be dependent on the crude stock, getting more crude stock in order for output to be seen.
Okay, Rotus, thank you. But we've been talking about crude oil. When are they going to provide gas? When should we expect gas for the petrochemical wing of the Dangote Refinery?
Well, that's also in the works as well. But I think the main priority now is to get we're already at the end of the year. So this is, the year is pretty much over. Gas is definitely in the pipe, to use a pun, in the pipeline as well. That is also going to be, they're going to be giving us some more updates as they come. But the main point here, Doctor, is that Dangote has done his part. Everything is ready. You just have to, it's like literally think of your car as the refinery. So if you got to pump some fuel in before the car can get moving, they are ready to go. They are ready. It's a matter of the supply coming in. So gas is definitely part of the equation. And as feedstock comes in, we get it going.
All right, well, thank you very much, Rotus. I'm sure you have a lot to talk about during Global Business Report later on at 11 a.m. and be able to ask, respond to more questions and give more clarity as to when to expect, what's happening on ground, and the great news for not just the larger Dangote, but for Nigeria as a whole. So thank you very much for bringing us this report.